Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. My name is Nick and it's the 2-week roundup. So first of all, apologies because this video was supposed to go up yesterday. If you're a regular follower of the channel, you might notice yesterday was a bit quiet. Normally it's something that goes up every day, but there was nothing there. I did put a note up about that on the Patreon site if you're a patron or follow that, and on Facebook as well. But the channel's recently been on a 1-month full-time trial to see how things go. That got extended to 3 months, that got extended to 5 months to see what happened, but now I've reached an actual end point where, although I'm doing okay from Patreon and donations alone, I can't run this full-time. So I'm having to get other work, so I'm running around doing interviews, so I'll keep you posted on that. So it might be I'll go back to my older work, or I might get something local, but a lot of stuff's going on in the background. I'll let you know. So that's a quick explanation. So let's speed up and do the 2-week roundup, then we should be back to normal. So thank you for all supporters so far, it is appreciated. Now we have been covering pinball tables. I so should have put a glass of water here because I'm almost coughing, but anyway, we'll be fine. So much stuff going on at the moment, I'm losing where I am. So yes, before we come to the top 6, we have been covering some pinball tables from Zen Studios on the Pinball FX3. The first one was Solo, based on the film Solo, of course, that came out very recently. Get 3 tables in that pack: Solo, Calrissian Chronicles and the Battle of Mimban. Battle of Mimban will probably come to this Thursday, but Solo is not a bad table. It's a little bit generic, but it does represent bits of the film okay. And the other table we looked at was Calrissian Chronicles, which is basically based on the Star Wars character Lando Calrissian, as you might have guessed. And there's different modes to unlock there. I think there's 5 scenes for different points in his lifetime. So they might cover from the cartoon series I haven't seen, Star Wars Rebels, scenes from Empire Strikes Back, and Darth Vader will turn up there, from the Solo film as well in his younger days. So yeah, overall it's a good pack. I'm not completely blown away, but it's a good pack, great music, and I am looking forward to maybe covering some of the Williams tables from Zen in the coming weeks too. There's bit of a mixed bag of games this time round. Champion Sprint on the Commodore 64 didn't get into the top 6. I was expecting something a bit better there. It had an editor to it, but it didn't grip me at all. Space Zombies was a good one on the ZX Spectrum from '83. It hasn't aged particularly well, but I do like the programming. So yes, let's speed this. Top 6, and then I can make some other videos for you. Okay, so in 6th place, obviously, if you disagree with this, put your own top 6 down the bottom there. So in 6th place, on the Commodore 64, I put Continental Circus, published by Virgin in 1989. Now this is a Formula 1 game. Previously we reviewed Wet Le Mans on the Commodore 64 as well. It's attempting the same thing. Wet Le Mans was great on the Spectrum, but terrible on the Commodore 64. So I'm glad to say that Continental Circus was a lot better than that one. You have to be a bit careful. It is a bit tricky because the myriad of connections with other cars. You will get damage and the car will catch fire and blow up. You have to get a certain amount of positions within 1 lap to qualify for the next circuit. It's quite addictive, it is quite tricky. No real Formula 1 license on there, but a good game. 1989, maybe near the end of the Commodore 64's run, that's why it may become a 6th rather than a bit higher up. But I was a fan of Continental Circus, liked it on the Spectrum as well, and I really liked the weather conditions on it because I wasn't really expecting that on a game of this sort of era on 8-bit, so when you see something that blows you away or impresses you, it gets extra kudos there. In 5th place, on the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis, depending on where you are in the world, is Super Street Fighter 2 by Capcom from 1994. Now you've probably heard of Street Fighter, I'd be surprised if you haven't, but converted from the arcades, this one is, the full title is Super Street Fighter 2 The New Challengers, because over the first game it gives you 4 extra players to get to grips with, so you've unlocked everything in the original game, this gives you extra stuff there. I'm not a big player of this game, so a few of the special moves I was more familiar on the Commodore Amiga version than this version. If you practice, I did use E-Honda and pulled off a couple of these special moves, but with practice it wouldn't take too much. You can learn a character quite well, complete it with that character, and then there's more to do completing it with other characters, and then at the end you defeat 4 end level bosses: M. Bison, Sagat and Vega and the other one. It's a good game, it's 2D, it's very colourful, this one. It's on a par with the Super Nintendo one, which I don't really cover those sort of games because Nintendo will probably claim them, the music or something like that. It's too much hassle to keep putting in claims all the time. Sometimes they're bogus, sometimes they're not. But Nintendo, boo! I won't be covering those games at all. So yeah, sorry to those people that ask, but no, it's not worth the hassle. It's a full-time job. Disputing their claims, as anyone that puts their games up will probably know. So good game, that one. In fourth place on the ZX Spectrum is WRIGGLER, published by Romantic Robot in 1985. Now Romantic Robot were more known for their hardware than their software, so this is a good one to see. But this is a really interesting and unique game. I would call it sort of like a curio. You control a worm, or possibly a maggot, against 3 other worms, and you must find your way through 4 different levels. It's an exploration game to get to the end mansion. So you start off in a garden, then you get to Scrubland, then there's an underground bit, and then I looked around there to see if the sound was still working. I don't want to speak all like this and then I haven't recorded anything. Well done, Nick. Yes, you get through the underground and then you get to the mansion. A map would help here. The wriggle animation is good, and all the way there are insects and other bugs, including a huge spider which will stop you. If they come into contact with you, you will lose certain amounts of energy, but that can be replenished by finding power-ups like cups of tea and ice buns. A real nice game. There's no violence to it at all, but as a kid you would have got lost in that one. About 250 screens, so you can get lost to your heart's content. So really, really good. So in 6th place I put Continental Circus on the Commodore 64, published by Virgin in 1989. In 5th place, Super Street Fighter 2, The New Challengers by Capcom in 1994 on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive. And in 4th place we put WRIGGLER on the ZX Spectrum, published by Romantic Robot in 1985. So let's come to the top 3 this time, and yeah, 3 pretty good games. In 3rd place, on the Sega Mega Drive again, we've got Super Off-Road by Virgin in 1992. Now, I'm really familiar with this game on the Commodore Amiga, so I expected it to be a bit like that, and I was really blown away. There's extra tracks, the playability was slightly better, you do need different tactics there, so it's like an enhanced version of the arcade machine, where the Amiga tended to just be converted from the arcade. So if you play this on the Amiga or any other version, play it on this as well. You will get quite a lot of play out of it, and you need different tactics. It's sort of like a dirt version of Super Sprint from the arcade. You can upgrade your car, there's 3 other ones, controls really well, and there's really lots to like here. Good music, good playability. I'm not sure if it'll stand up today in terms of political correctness on the podium. People who have seen the game or played it know what I'm talking about there, but it's good, a good game nonetheless. You'll have really long goes on this. It's really kind with the credits and stuff. In 2nd place on the Commodore Amiga, I have put Breathless by Power Computing in 1995. This was on the Amiga 1200. It's a first-person shooter in the style of Doom. I was only using a small bit of the screen to keep the animation or the frame rate up, because the Amiga wasn't really designed for this sort of game in mind. But if you had an accelerator back in the day, you probably could have put it to full screen and it all would have looked okay. Other first-person shooters are Gloom and Alien Breed 3D, which we've covered previously, and it's on a par with those. I would say it's level. All 3 of those are better than Deathmask, which we looked at a little while ago in terms of its capabilities. Deathmask was great fun, but you can only move in 4 directions with that. This you've got 8 directions, and the controls a little bit easier. So really like Breathless. That come through a recommendation. Mean and moody, and as I say, it's well worth progressing on that. I think I got to about level 2, so I didn't see a great deal of the game, but I could tell it was going to be brilliant. And in 1st place, it's not a surprise if you've seen the 2-week roundup before, because I'm a huge fan of this franchise and these games. The Sega Mega Drive again, so they got 3. The Mega Drive got 3 entries in the top 6 this time. Was Road Rash 3 by Electronic Arts in 1995. Now, it's pretty much the same thing again, so people may argue, look, it doesn't offer too much more than Road Rash 2. But it's only when you start playing it for quite a bit you'll notice there's subtle differences. You've got more bikes than the 2nd game. The sprites have been reworked, although the playability is more or less the same. You're going through different countries in the world this time rather than a single country, so oncoming traffic will be on different sides of the road depending on what the rules are there. That keeps your wits about you. And the racers you're racing against start off a bit more violent straight away. Different weapons to pick up as well, and it's heaps and heaps of fun and cartoon humour all the way through. So huge fan of Road Rash 3, as I was with the first one, the second one and the third one. If you ask me what is my favourite of the Road Rash games, well, I like all of them, it's hard to separate, but 2 and 3 I'll probably put joint first, and Road Rash, the original one, just ever so slightly behind, but all of them are wonderful games. So, in summary then, this time round, a day late. For third place, we've got Super Off-Road on the Sega Mega Drive, published by Virgin in 1992. In second place, Breathless on the Amiga 1200 by Power Computing in 1995. And in first place, Road Rash 3 by Electronic Arts in 1995. If you've got a different order, then please put those below. So once again, thank you for sticking by me. Sorry about there being nothing up yesterday. There might be the occasional blank day at the moment as things are looking to settle themselves down. Hopefully going to keep the channel running in some form. If I can't, I will try to. If I can't, I will definitely let you know there. So thanks again for watching the videos and commenting there. And until next time, take great care of yourself and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.